My name is Viridiana Avila, and for my research to practice paper, I chose an article on the topic of parental involvement. I used Waveline Bennet-Conroy's article, Engaging Parents of 8th Grade Students in Parent-Teacher Bidirectional Communication, for this project. This study was conducted in a low-resource, high-immigrant, high-minority population school district within New York City. This district has repeatedly experienced budget freezes and cuts, which limits its resources. The study was conducted at one middle school in the district and focused on 8th grade parents and students. The purpose of this study was to develop and evaluate a low-cost intervention to promote effective parental involvement among parents of 8th grade students in a low-resource, high-immigrant, and minority population school district. This study was divided into two phases. The purpose of the first phase was to gain some insight on the barriers parents at this district face in order to be involved in their children's education. The purpose of Phase 2 was to evaluate low-cost intervention success in increasing parental involvement and student achievement. Going into the study, the teachers and administrators at this school held the belief that the large majority of parents are not involved in their children's education due to low attendance at school events. In order to effectively rate and track parental involvement, the researcher used the following framework because she felt all of these constructs were relevant factors. Role construction refers to parents' beliefs of what they can and should do to support their children. Self-efficacy is the parents' belief in their ability to help and support their children be successful. Invitations refer to the frequency that teachers, staff, or their children invited parents to be involved somehow. Care and trust has to do with how parents perceive school staff, especially if they consider them to be caring and trustworthy. At-home parent involvement is how often parents are already involved in the home, and at-school parent involvement refers to how often parents are involved on campus. The researchers pursued this study because past research established that parental involvement is associated with improved student achievement. However, some of the studies also recognize that additional research is needed to support a causal relationship between parental involvement and student achievement. The researcher also mentions the need to investigate the effectiveness of low-cost interventions for parental involvement in low-resource schools. Phase 1 was conducted in 2009-2010. The methods included face-to-face recorded interviews with 17 parents of 8th graders. Phase 2 was not implemented until the 2010-2011 academic year. This involves 6 8th grade English classes, totaling 192 students. 61 students were part of the intervention group, where teachers would initiate communication with parents. The other 131 students were in the control group, where teachers would not initiate parent communication. All students would also receive homework assignments for 7 weeks, which required student-parental interaction to complete. The teachers would also track the total number of homework assignments submitted and homework scores. The hypothesis for Phase 1 was that parents should be open to help their students with homework and would be open to communicate with teachers about their student. This hypothesis was confirmed through the content of parent interviews. There were 3 hypotheses for Phase 2. The first one was that parents in the intervention group would have a higher rate of communication with teachers. The second was that students in the intervention group would turn in a greater amount of homework compared to the control group. And the final hypothesis was that intervention students would also score higher on homework assignments than control students. Through the data collected, all 3 hypotheses for Phase 2 were confirmed. Some of the conclusions of the study were that parental involvement positively affected student achievement. It was also established that large-scale interventions are not the only way for schools to involve parents in their children's education. This study recognized that work also needs to be done to improve teacher and staff role construction. Much of the staff assumed that parents were not very involved in their children's education, when in fact, many parents are involved and welcome teacher communication. This study also found that teacher outreach and communication increased parental involvement. Therefore, teachers should not wait for the school or district to implement a large-scale intervention. Teachers can and should make a difference in their own classrooms. There are many recommendations that can be derived from this article. The first is that although this article focused on an intervention implemented in an English class, Communication with parents is relevant and important for teachers in every content area. These types of interventions could easily be implemented in any content area with a little bit of planning. From this study, it is important to note that student success is a collaborative effort. As teachers, we need to strive to engage students, parents, as well as other school staff. After seeing the positive results that a low-cost teacher intervention was able to create, more teachers need to take initiative to communicate with parents in order to promote student success. Teachers need to learn as many strategies as they can in order to make this happen. One way to do this is for teachers to follow Beckett, Bird, McIntosh, and McKinney's footsteps and conduct their own action research in their classroom. This will help them find what works best for their students, their parents, and for them too. Getting parents involved can also affect our classroom. By involving parents in the homework routine, like it was done in the study, teachers would be able to make content relevant for students as they would have to use the content knowledge in many different ways. They would have to teach and discuss the content with their parents, as well as apply the content in real-life applications as they and their parents could relate to. Involving parents in the homework process would also promote the first 4 Common Core standards for practice for mathematics. Lastly, teachers should make a greater effort to communicate and engage parents as they are a great resource for us to better learn about our students in order to meet their learning needs in our classroom. Here are the sources that I used for this presentation. Thank you for listening.